اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهذه إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره مقداره العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. الحمد لله رب العالمين. أفضل الصلاة وتام التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ورضي الله تعالى عن أهل السادة التابعين وعلماء عاملين وأئمة أربعين مجتهدين مقلديهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. الحمد لله رب العالمين. This is part 2, series 2 of the Maliki Fiqh series on the Umdat'l of the Shaykh Uthman Dan Fodio to God Allah bi rahmati Ameen. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh, mashallah. Okay. So this is I took a week off after completing Umdat'l Bayan, and Umdat'l Muta'Abideen is the support of the dedicated worshipers and skilled professionals. And what this text compiles of, it compiles of the same topics as in Umdat'l Bayan. However, this text touches on the Dalil al-Naqiliyah, the textual proof from the Book of Allah. All right, for each point that is mentioned as it relates to creed and as it relates to fiqh and to tasawwuf. Okay. Says the poor slave in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. Peace and blessings be upon our master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and his companions. Says the poor slave in need of the mercy of his Lord, Uthman ibn Muhammad ibn Uthman, the one who is known as Danfodi, Taqaddam Allah bi rahmati Ameen. The Shehu, he begins this text with Bismillah, as all the scholars initiate their compositions following in the Book of Allah and the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as related by Abdul Qadir al-Rahawi in his Al-Arba'in on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. Every affair of importance which is not began in the name of Allah, then it is severed. He then says, following the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as related in Tabarani in his Al-Awsat, on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, whoever sends blessings upon me in the book, there will remain an angel seeking forgiveness for him as long as my name is in that book. Thus, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, there is no power or might besides Allah. And may Allah Ta'ala bless our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the noble Prophet, his family, and all his companions. Says the most needy slave of his magnificent independent Lord, mashallah. So this Umdat'l Muta'Abideen, and inshallah ta'ala, all praise due to Allah. The best of blessings and most abundant of peace to our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and companions. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with the followers and the right acting scholars, the followers of the Sahaba, the right acting scholars, imams who exercise independent judgment, and those who follow them until the day of judgment. The book is called The Support of the Dedicated Worshippers and the Skilled Professionals. And inshallah ta'ala, I'm going to go into the text. The first part of the text is Ilmu Usulul Deen, the foundations of the sciences of the foundations of the Deen. And I say in successes with Allah, realize that Allah Ta'ala has established all of the foundations of the Deen in the mighty Quran, the divine ilahiyat, its prophetic nabawiyat, and its afterlife, as-samiyat. This means the science of divine unity of the science of belief, which is an obligatory upon every responsible person to know and believe in it, to believe in. But it excludes the science of scholastic theology. It excludes ilmul kalam. However, ilmul kalam can be found in usulul deen, right? It can be found in usulul deen. When you take usulul deen as the approach and evidence is on giving dawah to the people, and you use the dalil al-aqiliyah, the intellectual proofs, along with the dalil al-naqiliyah, then it becomes ilmul kalam. All right, this is the foundations of the deen and the scholastic theology, ilmul kalam. As for the foundations of the religion, it is part of the individual obligations, while scholastic theology, it is part of the collective obligations. It's a fardu kifaya. So a fardu kifaya means that if someone knows it, and it's in each community, the usulul deen is each individual must know enough of it in order to make their creed, make their belief sound. Everyone doesn't have to know ilmul kalam, scholastic theology. Everyone doesn't have to know that, but there have to be some people that knows ilmul kalam. And the purpose of ilmul kalam is actually to refute, not just to refute deviant beliefs about Allah and His Messenger, but also to refute the philosophers, refute the atheists, and refute the Jews and Christians. However, in refuting the Jews and Christians, you are not only would you have to have sound knowledge and of usulul deen, of your religion being sound, but you would also have to have knowledge of what they convey as well, of what they convey as well, because what they convey, if they gave much attention to it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may use that as a vessel of guidance to guide them to Islam. The same with the Yahud. What they, the Torah, their books, if they really utilize them and they're sincere, Allah Ta'ala will utilize that as a vessel of guidance to guide them to Islam. However, during the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Yahuds of Medina, they knew who the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was per letter of his description that is described to them in the Torah, in their books. They knew, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they knew the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam better than they knew their own sons. So when Allah Ta'ala gave him Nubuwah, the Yahud, they knew, they had already knew. They had already knew. So in regards to giving dawah, right? And giving dawah, you only have to clarify some of these things, some of these matters, as it relates to the sifat of the sifatullah, his attributes and his asma, his names. You only have to clarify them to those who are not Muslim, because all of the Muslims supposed to be. So we're supposed to be following the default position, the mu'tamid position of the way of the Salaf, as it relates to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's asma wa sifat, his names and his attributes, that we supposed to, is obligatory to believe in them, and we know that all of what Allah Ta'ala has revealed is from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and that we believe in them, and we do not make we do not explain, and we do not translate, and we do not not translate it into something that is non-befitting to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and we free ourselves up from making free ourselves up with declaring that there's no likeness of Allah Ta'ala to His creation. So as Muslims, we all supposed to do that. However, we have dialogue with Muslims who they have erroneous beliefs about Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So instead of trying to prove where they are wrong, our encouragement to them is to try to return back to the mu'tamid position of the Salaf. I mean, what they believe they recited. They recited the ayats of the ayats of Quran that's related to the sifat of Allah, the attributes of Allah. They narrated or transmit the hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as is related to the sifat of Allah, as it relates to Allah Ta'ala's attributes, and full stop, remain silent, and make total tafweed, restoring the meaning to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and not making any ta'wil. Or if we make ta'wil that is befitting to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But Allah Ta'ala knows the true ta'wil. And the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam intended what he intended, that was revealed to him from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Other than that, then the opposite of that is that we'll be in error, if we do the opposite. So Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has established the creation of the universe. Right, I'm going into the Ilahiyat. By His words, He is the one who begins creation and then renews it. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has established that His existence is absolutely necessary. Wajib al-wujud. By His words, that is because Allah, He is the real. Wa huwa Allahu haqq. Allah is the real. And there are many ayats that's related to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's existence. One, you know, saying the first ayat that is mentioned, that I mentioned, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, He says, and He is the one who begins creation. It's in Surah Rum. That is to say that Allah Ta'ala is one who begins creation either from dust or from pure non-existence. Right? He is the one who originated the creation without primordial pattern, and he thus originated it and then brought it into existence after it has been in non-existence. So what is this related to is hadith, right? Hadith is something that was non-existent, and Allah Ta'ala created it and brought it into existence. So everything that did not exist, that everything at one point didn't exist, and Allah Ta'ala brought it into existence. And some things that Allah Ta'ala brought into existence, they have a shortened period of time before they're destroyed. Like our life, we're born. The day that we were born was decreed, and the day that we die is decreed. The hellfire and the paradise, before it existed, before it was non-existent, then Allah Ta'ala brought it into existence, and it will continue until Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala uh, decrees decrees otherwise. But to our knowledge is that the paradise and the hellfire continues, right? Though at one point it was non-existent. And Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Allah Ta'ala has established that His existence is before time creation, is before time al-Qadim, uh, al-Qadim. By His words, He is the first, and Allah Ta'ala has established that His existence is continuous after time, al-Baqi, by His words, and rely upon the living who never dies. All right, so when we use the term Qadim, now and Qadim and is not is in his literal the literal meaning of Qadim means something old, something that is old. But as it's related to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, that's not the meaning. It's before creation. You know what I'm saying? Allah Ta'ala existed before anything else, before He created anything. It was just Him. So He is the first. He is one and the first without having a second. He's one without having a second, um, or a companion or anything else. You know what I'm saying? Not that He becomes more than one, or He becomes three. You know what I'm saying? That He's totally alone. He's the first. You know what I'm saying? He existed all by Himself, right? Before He brought anything else into existence. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala here, Allah Ta'ala has established that His existence is unlike His creation. Mukhalif li bi khalqihi. By His words, he is not there's nothing like Him, right? Mukhalifatuhu lil hawadith, right? And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, has established that His existence is al-Ghani, is independent by His words, and Allah is the rich beyond dependence. Meaning that uh, the independence, al-Ghani, meaning that He's not in need of His creation. He's not in need of anything. He's self-subsistent, self-sustaining. Right, nothing else, nothing sustains Him. Nothing. Everything is in need of Him, and He's not in need of anything. Right. Uh, Also, this attribute is related to Qiyamah who bin Nafsi, which I explained what that is. Right. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, His existence is Wahid, one alone. By His words, say, He, Allah, is one. Kul hu Allahu ahad. Right? He, Allah, is one. He's alone. Right? And He, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, has established His existence is El Qadir, omnipotent. Right? By His words, verily Allah has power over all things. Right? So, and the previous ayats in Surah Ashura, Laysa kamithlihi shay'un wa huwa samiul basir. Surah Ayat 11. That's for the attribute مخالفته للحوادث المخالفة لخلقه, right? That there's nothing like him. And the ayat al-Fath, ayat 38 of Surah al-Fath, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is independent of his entire creation. It is said that he is independent of his creation as well as their worship of him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need our worship, right? So all of that entails in that attribute. And Surah Ikhlas, Qul Hu Allahu Ahad, say he, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is one. He's alone. He's Wahid, right? That whole surah is the foundation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being unique, having no partner, having no companion, having no wives, having no children, right? And not being born, right? You know what I'm saying? So this whole surah, and there's other ayats that's also related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's uh being a creator of all things, being a creator, being um separate from his creation, right? The first book of creed, the best book of creed is the Quran, because the Quran, it has ayats that are muhkam, that are clear, and it has ayats that's mutashabihah. The ayats that's mutashabihah are supported by the ayats that are clear. So to understand the ayats that are mutashabihah, you understand them by the clear ayats, right? So you have no need to go into or explaining any of the ayats of the mutashabihah, because its recitation of them ayats are the explanation. And why is the recitation is the explanation? Because we have to believe in them, because they're known. They're in the book of Allah. So to continue, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established that he has will. He has murad, murid. He has will. By his words, he does whatever he wills. Fa'alun lima yurid. Right? And that's in Surah Hud, ayat 107. Right? And Allah Ta'ala, he establishes that he is Al-Alim, he is all-knowing. By his words, verily Allah Ta'ala knows all things. Verily Allah knows all things. Okay? And Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has established that he is Al-Hayy. He is ever living. He is living. Right? By his words, he is the living. And Allah Ta'ala has established that he is a Sami. He is all hearing. And he is Basir. He is all seeing. By his words, I hear and I see. All right. So um, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has established that he is al mutakallim. You know, say he has speech. He is a speaker. By his words, and Allah Taala spoke to Moses directly. Now I'm doing a class on Saturday with a brother. We this will be our third week, inshallah. We already covered this part about mutakallimin. the proof related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking directly to Moses. But we're going over a different text. We're going over the Risala of Imam Ibn Abi Zayd Qarawani. And he has great detail in the explanation of this of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's speech. What is understood is that Allah Ta'ala is attributed with speech. What his speech is, what it entails, is left to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And Allah Ta'ala has established that he chooses in doing a thing or leaving it undone. That class is on WhatsApp. It's actually a personal a one-on-one class with the brother. Given the fact that he has some strenuous conditions that I care not to mention here, right? But inshallah ta'ala, soon I probably will be going over the Risala, on the Tajdid of Sunnah page, and on the YouTube channel, inshallah, because I have some classes on my channel. I know nephew, man, subhanallah, but inshallah, don't be patient. Be patient with me. We're gonna get around to it, inshallah. As a matter of fact, after to announce this, after Ramadan, I'm gonna be going over the Risala, the Hajj section of the Risala, inshallah, because I haven't did the Hajj section as far as like teaching it since I've been in Philadelphia. I've taught the creed of Imam Ibn Abi Zayd, the creed section, and I've taught the Ramadan section, which like last month, I believe it was last month, I had posted the videos in the group from the Ramadan classes, the class on Ramadan from the Risala. So inshallah ta'ala, in Shawwal, I'm gonna do the Hajj section, inshallah, and probably later on after that, I want to give it to like next year. Then I'm gonna start next year in January, inshallah. If Allah Ta'ala permits, I'm gonna do the go over the Risala, inshallah. All right, so Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has established that He chooses in doing a thing or leaving it undone. All right, inshallah. By His words, and your Lord creates what He wills, and He alone chooses what He creates. And it's talking about Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's divine will, right? Right? To create a thing or leave it undone. And this is the that concludes the ilahiyat, right? And now I'm gonna do the Nabawiyat. Allah Ta'ala, the Exalted, has established the sending of Risala, the sending of messengers. By His words, we have not sent before you except men who received revelations. So Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, He sends prophets and messengers, and there's 124,000 prophets and messengers that Allah Ta'ala has sent to the mankind. He, Allah Ta'ala, has established the messengership of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in particular by his words. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's in Surah Al-Fath, ayah 29. Right. The first one, the sending of messengers. That's in Surah to Yusuf, ayat 109. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established established that he is the last prophet and messenger, last of the prophets, by his words, and he is the seal of the prophets, Khatamul Nabi'een, talking about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he established that the prophets and messengers, they have truthfulness. There's a sadiq by his words, and indeed the messengers told the truth. And he has established, uh, he the exalted has established that their amana, their trustworthiness, that by his words, verily I am a trustworthy messenger to you. That the prophets and messengers, they are truthful, they are trustworthy, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established the fact that they have delivered the message, the tabligh al-risala, that they have the tabligh al-risala is the message that they have in order to convey to the people, right? By his words, those who deliver the messages of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all of the prophets and messengers, all of the prophets and messengers delivered their message, right? Delivered their risala, their message to the people, right? And that all of all of the people in our day, in our time, and this is like a side note, because when the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the beginning leading to Yom Qiyamah. That's why any religion that exists after the Prophet ﷺ came with the last final message, with his his message being the Book of Allah and his Sunnah, that every is not going to be accepted. Only Islam is going to be accepted, and that even though we're living in 1445 Hijrah, we're included in living in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to where the message is that Islam is the only religion that is going to be accepted. So Islam is the only true religion accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at this time, because all of the prophets and messengers, they came with the same message. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perfected our way of life, and he gave us Islam as the upright way of life. So it's not a religion. It's not a religion, because you have laws, in the Sharia, that's related to every perspective of life: politics, business, education, um, marriage, divorce, war, everything, engineering. Everything that exists in our time, Islam addresses it. So to continue, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established the fact that the prophets and messengers, yatazawwaj, they marry by his words, for we have made them wives and descendants. So the prophets and messengers, they marry, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established that the fact that the prophets and messengers, yakulu ta'am, they eat food, and yabiuna wala yashtaruna, is that the prophets and messengers, they do buying and selling in markets by his words. They eat food, and they go through the markets. So the prophets and messengers, they do everything what human characteristics do, except for they don't make mistakes. They are sinless. You mean they don't have any sins. They don't have any shortcomings. They're sinless, right? And no other individuals are sinless or mistakenless or don't make mistakes. No other human being is sinless or doesn't make mistakes, but the prophets and messengers, they don't make any mistakes and they're sinless. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave them their sins. So to continue, we're gonna go into the Samiyat. All right? We're gonna go into the Samiyat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established the existence of the Malaika, the existence of angels. By his words, all praises are due to Allah, who originated the heavens and the earth and made the angels into messengers and the possessors of wings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established the existence of death and its appointed time. Actually, by his words, when their appointed time comes, then they cannot postpone it nor push it forward. So the appointed time, you have appointed time of death, and there's no way that you can die too early, which they say is before your time, and there's no way you can die after your time. Right? If it's decreed for you to live to be 50, there's no way you're gonna die at 25. If it's decreed for you to die at 25, there's no way you was gonna live to be 50. One of my teachers told me, as it relates to the time that you die, is that everything that was written for your provisions, uh, for your provisions, what is written for you, once that is ran out, then your death comes. So each individual that dies, they live this life, then they go on, they dies, and then they have the life in the grave, which is the barzakh. And then after the barzakh, they're raised up on Yom Kippur, and then they have the life on Yom Kippur. And then after that time, they either go to the hellfire, they go to Jannah. Then they have life in the hellfire, or they have life in Jannah. The people that's going to be in the hellfire forever are the people who are not going to be interceded for. They're there forever, right? And the people who go to Jannah, they're going to be in Jannah forever. Now, there are going to be some Muslims that are going to spend some time in the hellfire to be purified and go through the torment in the hellfire, to be cleansed, and Allah Ta'ala calls their intercession to be accepted, and He brings them into Jannah. So the appointed time is is whenever your provisions has ran out, right? Whatever's decreed for your provisions ran out, that's when it's time for you to go, right? Allah Ta'ala calls the angel of death to take you. No one knows what time they're gonna die or what place they're gonna die. As it relates to the place that you're gonna die, is that if it's decreed for you to die in China, then the need for you to go to China, Allah Ta'ala has already created the need for you to be there, so that when you get there and you're there for some time, then the angel of death take your soul. One time, Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam and one of his companions was sitting, and they was conversating, and a man came up to Sulaiman, and he gave him salam, and he returned the salam. And the man who was sitting next to Suleiman, the man looked at him, looked directly at him, and he passed on. So the man asked Suleiman alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, who is this man? Who is that man that you gave salam to? He looked directly at me. He said, I was the angel of death. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had also gave Suleiman alayhi salatu wasalam, along with the power to control the jinn, also gave him the power to control the four winds. So the man asked him, do you still have the power to control the four winds? He said, yes. He said, can you command the four winds to take me to China or to India, to take me to China? So when he commanded the four winds to take him to China, it was India, to take him to India, the angel of death was there and he took his soul. So the next day he had came, the angel of death had came, and he had came to Suleiman alayhi salatu wasalam, and he gave him salams and he returned it. He said, the other day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had commanded me to go to India to take this man's soul. But when I saw you the other day and gave you salam, the man was sitting right next to you. But I was commanded to take his soul in India. So as soon as he came, I took his soul. So that is the how, you know what I'm saying, how it is understood that wherever the land is that you die in, Allah Ta'ala already created the need for you to be there, right? So that sooner or later the angel of death take your soul. He has established, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established that the believer will be supported during the questioning of the grave. By his word, Allah will support those who believe with a well-established pronouncement. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established that the punishment, the adhab al-qabr, the punishment of the grave. By his words, when you see the unjust and the hardships of death, and the angels with outspread hands, saying, come out of the punishment if you can. This day is the reward of disgrace, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established the Na'im al-Qabr, the blessings of the graves, by his words. Then if he is from among those who are brought near, then for him will be refreshments and sweet smells and gardens of ease. And if he be from among the companions of the right hand, then peace for the companions of the right hand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also established the al-Ba'ath, the resurrection, by his words, and that the hour is approaching, there is no doubt in it, and that Allah Ta'ala will resurrect those who are in the graves. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has established the al-Hashr, the gathering. By his words, we will definitely round them up all together, and we will not abandon one of them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established the kutub, the giving of the books, by his words. And as for him who will be given his book in his right hand regarding the believers, and as for him who was given his book in his left hand regarding the disbelievers. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has established the wazn al-amal, the weighing of the actions, on the scale. Wazn al-amal. By his words, we will establish the scale with equity for the day of standing. So all of these points that are from the afterlife, these are the tools in which we use in giving dawah. right? We however, all of the usuluddin, the ilayat, the nabawiyat, and the samiyat is the methodology that we use in giving dawah, right? When we just giving dawah to telling people about Islam, telling people about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, telling people about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and telling people about the afterlife. Many of us have came to Islam from hearing about things in the afterlife. Whether we come because many of these things from the afterlife, we heard them before Islam, right? Whether you have a Christian background, a Jewish background, uh, any background that you come from, right? That's related to Christianity or Judaism, you have some knowledge of some of the things that I mentioned in the Samiyat, in the afterlife. You know what I'm saying? But most of us that have come from Christian background, we hear this fire and brimstone type of afterlife, right? We heard this uh, uh, heaven and hell type of afterlife, right? We hear about angels and demons, right? We hear about these things. You know, some things that are mentioned in the Samiyat, uh, we didn't know about, because you know what I'm saying, it wasn't talked about. Even some of the miracles of the prophets and messengers we didn't hear about. Like for one example, and I remember when I was young that uh, that the Christians at one time believed that Isa ibn Maryam spoke as a baby, right? They believed that, and then after some time, I think they took that belief out of their doctrines. And what I'm talking about out of their doctrine, I'm talking about people that actually went to school to become a priest or a rabbi, or to become a priest, or to become a reverend or a pastor. Went to a theology school, a Christian theology school, where they learned their they learned about the beliefs of their religion. You know what I'm saying? And the doctrines of their religion. They had the Trinitarian doctrine. They had the Coptic doctrine. They had a number of different doctrines, and the 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 uh, uh, the Trinitarian doctrine. They try to explain. That's like something that is mutashabihat with them. That is ambiguous with them, because they try to prove it from the New Testament from the New Testament, you know, saying that is doesn't have any foundational sources in the Hebrew language, but its sources are in the Greek language. But the New Testament is supposed to be supposed to be the gospel of Isa ibn Maryam, the Injil, or the Book of Revelation is supposed to be the Injil. However, nowhere in the New Testament. I read the whole Bible a bunch of times, so I've never came across it. You know what I'm saying? And I read the whole Bible for the purpose of giving dawah. You know, because I used to look at Sheikh Ahmadidat videos and stuff, and read certain books, but I never understood why why him and others they used they use the Bible to give dawah to the Christians. But when I looked at their paid attention to how their strategy was, is that they mentioned topics that they didn't talk about in the church, that the pastors and the reverends, they wouldn't speak about. They wouldn't teach them portions of the Bible, right? So they would touch on these parts, and they will solidify where the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is mentioned in the Bible, like in Deuteronomy and in Proverbs and in certain parts of the Old Testament. And parts in the New Testament where they mention the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the New Testament, but they give him another name, right? They give him another name. So, and so what was said in the New Testament supposedly in red letters by Isa ibn Maryam, because we got the Bible that has the red letters, that's supposed to be what Jesus said, and then you have the black letters, that's what whoever is giving the narration is saying, right? So these, these even though I may have digressed a little bit, is related to the topic of the Samiyat, which things that I mentioned in that are not that we didn't never that never heard of. You had a Christian background that are not mentioned in the Bible, like this part right here, where Allah Ta'ala established this the sirat, the bridge, by His words. So usher them to the bridge of hell. The sirat is a bridge that goes across the hellfire. Some people will go across it with the speed of light. Some people will be crawling. Some people will be walking, and they won't get across. They'll just fall into the hellfire. You know what I'm saying? The people that go across with the speed of light, they're gonna make it, right? They shoot across, they won't fall. And then Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has established a nar, established the hellfire, the fire. By His words, verily we have prepared the fire for the unjust. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established the Kawthar, the fountain. By His words, verily we have given you al Kawthar. Right? So the Kawthar, it was I think it's in Tafsir Ibn Kathir, where it gives the description of the Kawthar. It's like it's like sweet honey. You dip your hand in it, and you come up with rubies and diamonds and all this type of stuff. But anyone who drinks it, once you drink it, you'll never thirst again, right? You know, Zamzam water. When you drink Zamzam water, whatever the intention is that you're drinking it for, Allah Ta'ala fulfill your your intent for what you're drinking it for. But the Kawthar is something that the Prophet ﷺ is going to give his ummah to drink from it, which is called his his basin. You drink from the basin of the Prophet ﷺ, right? And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has established al Jannah. He established the Garden of Paradise by his words, and they have been rewarded gardens and silk for their patience. Gardens beneath with rivers flow. That's what I'm saying. In the Garden of Paradise, you're gonna have rivers flowing underneath. I remember. I don't think nobody has ever really. A lot of people paid attention to it, but the last house that Elijah Muhammad had lived in, that Farrakhan lives in now, there's a stream, water stream that flows under the house, right? It flows under the house. I guess you can turn it on and off. But at certain times it ain't flowing, and at certain times, like I think in the summertime and in the springtime, the water flows. So they wanted their heaven, their Jannah on earth in this life, because they don't really believe in the afterlife. They don't believe in the next life, right? The the they had back they said that heaven is what you make it, and hell is what you go through. Or the below, right? But the Jannah is real and the hellfire is real. And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has established the vision of Allah, a vision of the Lord by the believers in the hereafter. By his words, their faces on that day will be gazing on their Lord. And the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he had the companions asked the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, would they be able to see Allah? The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that you'll be able to see your Lord as clear as you see the sun. All right. So your vision, you're gonna see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he didn't give any description to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he gave an explanation that it's like you see the sun, you'll be able to see Allah. And that's only for the believers. So these are the foundations of the deen, the usul deen. It's divinity, ilahiyat, it's prophetic, nabawiyat, and it's traditional samiyat, the hereafter, the afterlife. Allah has established all of them in the Book of Allah. Whatever is not mentioned, uh, they're not mentioning it. We did not mention it. Realize that it is subsumed elsewhere in the book. It is obligatory, upon every responsible mukallaf to believe in it as it came to us. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I'm gonna mention some more of the what is connected to it, to believing in it came to us. Abdul Wahab al-Shahrani said in his الدراري المنذورة في بيان زباد العلوم المشهورة. All of these foundations are well known and established with every Muslim who resides among the people of Islam, even if they can الكشفية المهديها لمعاني صفات الألوهية. Says how is it possible for someone to seek proof for the soundness of these meanings by his reason, for what has been obligatory from the believers by means of intellectual proof, after the definitive proof have been established from the Quran and the Sunnah. I am amazed in this time when Gnostics of Allah is sought after by means of proof, and how those who do not study these proofs is even called disbelievers. What was his state before he studied these proofs? Was he Muslim or not? Did he pray and fast or not? Was he firmly established on the oneness of Allah Ta'ala in his kingdom, and that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is the messenger of Allah or not? For if he believed in all the above, then his state is that of the common believer. He should be left alone with what he has from Iman in accordance with his natural disposition, his fitra. If he did not believe in these matters except after studying the teachings of the scholastic theologian, then we seek refuge with Allah from the school of thought, because this miseducation leads to someone leaving sound Iman. So what is explained is that the individual who Allah Ta'ala inspires the decrees for them to take shahadatain, and they establish the belief, kitabu, um, the articles of faith, the 6 articles of faith. Then that individual is a Muslim. He's a common Muslim. Learning the science of usuluddin is is the next thing for them to learn, to make their belief sound, so that their belief is sound, their iman is sound. the science of Usuluddin is the purpose of the purpose of Usuluddin is to get you to the point to where you have ma'rifah, where you have total uh, witnessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know who Allah is. You affirm that Allah Ta'ala is the creator of all creation, that Allah Ta'ala is not in his creation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of his creation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no likeness or resemblance to his creation. Right? There's sound in that. Even you know what I'm saying, if, even but even before they learned the science, they knew that Allah Ta'ala is the only one is one. It's the only one true God. He know that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is his final prophet and messenger to the mankind and the jinn. Right? So this individual, as the Sheikh said in his book, you should leave them alone because they're on their fitra, right? They're on their fitra. He also said in his Qawaid al-Kashfiyah, realize, O brother, that the scholars of Islam have not composed the books of scholastic theology in order to establish in themselves or others knowledge of Allah Ta'ala. They have only composed it as a deterrent against opponents of the deen, who are the philosophers and the Mu'tazila. Right? So the scholars, may Allah Ta'ala be pleased with them, only sought to establish definitive proofs against them in order to return them to the beliefs of Ittiqad, the beliefs of the Muslims, of what is obligatory from Iman in accordance with what the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came with from Allah. He then said, he realized that whoever desires to protect his belief from deviation, corruption, and the skepticism of error, should take his belief from the Book of Allah, for the whole of it is unbroken, infallible, and definitive. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم Ameen. So next week, inshallah ta'ala, we're gonna go into uh, ilmu furu' الظاهرة, the science of the outward branches of the deen, ilmu fiqh. Right, we're going to go into ilmu fiqh. So inshallah ta'ala, this text is going to be a little bit longer than Umdat'l Muta'Abideen, and inshallah ta'ala, I'm looking to be finished with this text by Shawwal, inshallah. Shawwal or Dhul Qa'dah, by Dhul Qa'dah, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Everyone who is watching on YouTube, please like, share the video, subscribe to the channels. Everyone who's watching on Facebook, please like the video. I don't know how, I can't see if how many likes we've gotten. I could see on one recording that one person on Facebook liked it, and four people are watching it. But like it, share the video, share it to your pages, share it to your groups, so that we can keep the algorithm going on Facebook to where you'll see it in your news feed, and we'll keep the YouTube algorithm going by liking and sharing the video. Hit the subscribe button to both of the channels. Hit the notification bells. So each time we upload a video each time we upload a video or recording, that you will get the notification. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Everyone have a good evening.